Hey y'all, I recently won a short story award and I'll post a video about it soon. Hey, you should worry more about making better videos instead of obsessing over these vain face filters you use. You know, her audience is much kinder than you are. When she's revising her mystery novels, then we need an inner critic. Otherwise, hush. Enjoy the show. Welcome, Smarties. Leave me a comment. Do you ever watch silent movies? Whether yes or no, what's your opinion of them? Today's video came about because of one humongous rabbit trail. I reviewed The Thin Man by Dashiell Hammett, then the original screenplays, then the prequel by Christopher Allen, wherein I learned about a silent comedy called The Patsy. Then I realized the star, Marion Davies, was portrayed in one of my favorite movies, The Cat's Meow, and that inspired me to research the mysterious passing of Thomas Ince, aka the father of the Western. First, let's talk about the Patsy, then the Hearst-Davies controversy. Leave it to me to have the hottest takes on modern celebrities from 100 years ago. The Patsy is from 1928, based on a Barry Connors play. Like several of Davies' films, this is called a Marion Davies production. The film editor's name was Hugh Wynn, which made me think of Hugh Fink, who makes fun of his own name, which sounds like someone saying, "You Fink." First, I do recommend this picture to any lovers of comedy. It is a silent movie being the slang term for moving picture. Once films added live sound, they became known as talkies. The comic timing, physical humor, and facial expressions are key here, since we can't rely on tone of voice. But I know this sounds weird, but it's true. When I'm watching a movie and our AC kicks on, I have to turn up the volume. And I did the same thing during this movie, even though there's no dialogue. The music in the movie felt crucial to each scene. The musical score supported the action and the reactions of the characters to the point that I really wanted to hear it. The music was like the voice of the movie. The intro music sounds like a weird hybrid of ragtime and Western music. It did not set my expectation as high as it could have, because the rest of the score is really good and perfectly sets the mood for every scene. The first title card says, "Sunday, when the average family wears itself out trying to rest." That's pretty relatable. We immediately notice Davies' character, Patricia, trying to differentiate herself from the others at the dinner table. She's daydreaming, she basically makes a what chicken butt joke. You'll know what I mean when you watch it. And her mother is very judgmental of Patricia and the father. The mother and sister, Grace, try very hard to prevent Patricia from distracting Grace's love interest, Tony. But Tony seems to enjoy Pat's company. I tried to keep calling her Patricia, but y'all, I kept stuttering over it, so I have to say Pat. But I can't help but think of that Julia Sweeney character from Saturday Night Live. There's a relatable and hilarious moment when all three women are primping and preparing for a party, trying to use the same mirror simultaneously. And can I just say, dressing up used to be such an ordeal. Holy cow, if my outfit requires more than 2 pieces, I'm out. Something else that stood out in the sequence is how the story sets up Pat to be a kind of Cinderella character, disrespected by the mother and the sister, and being expected to do all chores and take Grace's hand-me-downs instead of having her own new clothes. When the father stands up for Pat, the mother tells him to shut up, and not in a cute flirty way like Nick and Nora Charles. On the way to a dance, Pat makes a wish on a star. "I'd like to be entrancing, alluring, ravishing, like a stocking advertisement." I had to look up old stocking ads to understand, and I agree. The sequence with the party guest Billy who's trying to impress Grace, oh my word y'all, this guy is great at sleight of hand. I swear, Patricia trying to drop hints to Tony at the party was painful. It was like when I first met my husband. There's a unique twist on the glow-up or makeover trope. Patricia wants her crush to like her, but instead of relying on friends to help impress him, it's almost a My Fair Lady scenario, because her crush is the one who helps her with her self-improvement journey. Y'all, I should not admit this, but when Pat is reading What to Say and When, I felt like she was my spirit animal. I literally have a similar book, but I haven't read it all, which explains why I'm not interesting yet. Of course, Grace is a lot more refined, whereas Patricia is goofy and playful, so now 2 guys are buzzing around Grace like she's the only flower in the garden. As for Pat, her crush is kind of a serious business-minded guy, but Billy shares her sense of humor. This makes the audience wonder, will one of these guys see the light and notice how wonderful Pat really is? Will Pat's father ever stand up to his miserable wife? Will Grace's suitors realize she's playing the field? And can someone explain to me what is so great about Tony? In another 1928 silent movie called Show People, Marion Davies plays Peggy, a new actress. You could argue that Davies is surrounded by a cast that's being funny while she just kind of looks cute, but she's still better than Kal-El, no. Peggy sees actress Marion Davies and is not impressed. That was funny to me. And her stage name becomes Patricia, which is her name in The Patsy and The 5 O'Clock Girl and Little Old New York. I'm glad that the novel Before the Thin Man led me to these movies, which I might not have heard of otherwise. Quick reminder, if you want to hear some more fun perspectives, find the Drunken Fish Writers Group podcast, link in the description. Marion Davies, Thomas Ince controversy. Hearing that Marion Davies was associated with newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst, you probably don't need to be told that many rumors circulated about both of them, constantly. The biggest rumors of all are explored in one of my favorite movies, The Cat's Meow. No, I don't just like it because it stars Cary Elwes. A sad incident occurred in 1924 when several famous people, including Marion Davies and Charlie Chaplin, were on Hearst's yacht when filmmaker Thomas Ince mysteriously lost his life. You may not know his name, but Ince co-founded multiple movie studios, including Paramount. Research about Marion Davies led me to the movie Citizen Kane. I know 39 is pretty old to finally watch Citizen Kane for the first time. Look, I'm not as classy as y'all, okay? I'd always heard of it and I knew what Rosebud meant, but I finally watched it this week. Citizen Kane portrays Davies in the character of Susan Alexander. I've heard that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but this was not a flattering imitation. We see Marion, aka Susan, as a damsel in distress, ignorant, and being manipulated to end Kane's attempted political career, kind of the way that Marilyn Monroe was purportedly treated. And then Susan becomes famous mostly because of her relationship with Kane, not on her own merits, even though she is talented. Kane, a representation of Hearst, cannot tolerate anything but success and popularity for his young new wife, so he uses his newspapers to promote her career. Then she winds up feeling like a prisoner in the cold walls of the palace he built. Of course, I don't know if the real Marion Davies felt that way, but even The Cat's Meow suggests that she may have. Side note, how about that sequence in Kane around the 40-minute mark that fades seamlessly from a photograph to moving video? That effect was gorgeous. Also, did anybody else cry when Orson Welles starts breaking stuff after Susan leaves? There wasn't even a musical score at that moment, but the tension was amazing. When he walks between two mirrors that emphasize how alone he is, all you think about is how he's just a broken child, and mistreated children end up becoming broken adults. Once my two-part mystery gets published, you'll know how seriously I take it when people mistreat kids, but that's all I'll say for now. Whereas Kane presents Davies as someone to dislike or pity, The Cat's Meow shows us a sweet young woman enjoying a fancy new lifestyle and overwhelmed by the romantic advances of multiple influential men. But we still see Hearst as a big child, a man desperate to have control and order and love. He and Davies were surrounded by people even more vapid than they were, having nothing to hold on to except temporary thrills and vices. The ending narration by Joanna Lumley, honestly, it brings tears to my eyes. 100 years after the incident, I cannot find sources that agree on how Ince actually lost his life. It's possible that Hearst took aim at him, mistaking him for Chaplin, who supposedly was flirting with Davies. It's possible that Ince had ulcers and got drunk and had a heart attack. The one thing that's agreed on in articles and blogs is Charlie Chaplin's driver claimed to see blood on Ince's head when he was brought off of Hearst's yacht. None of the celebrities or reporters aboard the yacht ever gave a matching testimony, and supposedly the investigation was done quickly and carelessly. Fascinating information abounds on Ince and Davies, and of course Hearst, and his granddaughter Patty Hearst. Some controversy about her being abducted and allegedly committing crimes with the Symbionese Liberation Army. Y'all, there is a deeper rabbit trail that I can't put into 15 minutes. And the bottom line is, if you like comedies, you might like The Patsy and Show People. And if you like historical dramas, you might like Citizen Kane and The Cat's Meow. In the meantime, let's promise each other not to be like some of the characters from these movies. Instead, let's remember that compassion is love plus action. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.